All right, everybody, welcome to Moonhawk Studios presents once again at Mac Paladin's Retro Gaming Emporium. We hope. I am your host, Mac Paladin, and with me in the studio, as always, is my good friend Adam. I can hear him. Yep, and I've got all green bars. Woo! And there's a story behind that, but I'll get to that in a minute. So anyway, Adam's here. Obviously, you heard Kevin. Penny fans in the house. Yes, and we have the Golics. Yeah, not multiple Golics. We don't want multiple Golixes because that's like trying to manufacture a Taurus. Golices, okay. Tr- trust the Gundam crowd to have that terminology. Yeah, trust the Gundam crowd to have that terminology nailed down. I realize that, but it just I don't know. Wordsmithing. Things are hard. Anyway, allegedly we have a great show for you tonight. But before we get to our guest, let's cover the news. Adam, what's cooking with you, bud? I can hear you just fine. This is Bob on a recorded line. Can you hear me? Yeah. Or scammers. Yeah. Ah. All right. Kevin? We. No. Everything's green here. I think Golix is literally the only person having a problem. All right, let's start this again. I know what the problem is. It would help if Mac Paladin actually joined the fucking sound thing there. I have to log in using 2 accounts to do things this way. So let's start again. So Adam, what's your news? Hey, Uncola, man. Take it from the top. Take it from the top.
At least that was caught before the interview started.
Yeah, that would have been disastrous.
That would have been a disaster.
So hey, Uncle Man.
Yeah.
Thank you for the alert. 10 out of 10. Don't ever do it again. Yeah, 10 out of 10. Let's not ever do that again.
Yeah. It's also proof that somebody's listening at least. Yay!
Anyway, my news. Let's see. Dealt with rainstorm the other day. A lot of wind. Thankfully, nothing was thrown out of sorts. Playing the Tales of game. It's fine. Kevin, you're up.
I ain't got nothing going on, but working at the AMC. Petty, your news.
Snow, about 5 inches. Could have been 13, but luckily we missed it. And other than that, not really a whole lot for me. Just gonna be cold this weekend. Next victim.
Golix.
Well, since everybody else is keeping it brief, I also will. We did get about a foot of snow over the weekend, and then we got heavy rain and winds last night that melted most of it. Thankfully, we didn't have more than a momentary power outage this time. I don't know, not a whole lot else going on. Got some Pokemon DLC coming out tomorrow and the Splatfest this weekend to look forward to, but then also this weekend is when my family holidays thing got rescheduled too from last weekend's Sea Snowstorm. So we'll have to juggle those things.
Fun. All right. Well, I have a slightly lengthier news, which is pertinent to our. God damn it, Doodles! Okay.
Doodles says hello.
There's a greetings from the cat sector of my house. So I have fully deconstructed and reconstructed my home network because last week I lost Cox Cable due to owing them 7 bills. Yeah, I kept trying to pay him, but it's a long story. Among other problems. And so in order to get back online, so that way I could continue with gaming and streaming and existing commissions, keeping in contact with my artist friend who is working on the lore comic for Up Late with Mace and all that stuff. I ran over to Verizon and said, "What do you got?" I said, because I checked online, and after months and months of getting the no joy, as they say in the military, I finally was approved for home internet. And I was like, great, finally an alternative that isn't DSL, which stands for Digital Suckiness Line. For those of you familiar with the technology, it actually means Digital Subscriber Line, but anyway, you get the idea. But yeah, so finally I was approved for their 5G internet. Apparently they finally constructed a tower close enough to me to where I catch the leading edge of it. So I'm basically the restaurant at the edge of the universe here in Tucson. What the key was that they have limited seats while they're building the infrastructure for this whole thing, and there was like 9 people out of 276 units in my apartment complex that were granted permission initially, and now I've been worked into the mesh. So I got their box.
and I've been experimenting for the past 4 or 5 days with positioning it around the apartment and stuff. Because when I first got it, I was getting about 110 megabits download speed, which is acceptable. I mean, I'm able to, download software and watch 4K films, no problem. I was watching, I binge watched What If on the first day, and just generally testing it out. And then when I attempted to stream with it, I was getting 1.17 up, which is slightly above dial-up speed. At least by modern standards. So I kept futzing with it. Totally dismantled all of these switches and routers that we had everywhere, because I had a hodgepodge of old and new technology. So all of my routers are Nighthawks that I have. Luckily, we were talking about this in the pre-show, and I'm kind of like the American Pickers / Antique Roadshow of Goodwill. And I found 2 brand new Netgear Nighthawk routers. One's an AC 1900. It's a WN40. Anyway, I'm not going to tell you the model number because I don't want anybody hacking my routers. But I got 2 rather high-end routers for like between $8 and $18 a piece. And they were still in their plastic bags unopened.
There you go.
So between here and Phoenix, I was able to do the whole Antique Roadshow thing, but I had to factory reset them because they had other people's crap in them.
Yeah, those would be bad if you didn't do that.
Big Daddy's Wi-Fi is entertaining but wildly inappropriate for a middle-aged white dude.
FBI surveillance van, though, is
they're like, where did this come from? It turns out that this router was actually used in the commission of a crime. Yeah, great. Just what I needed to hear. Anyway, so I've been repositioning this stuff around the house, eliminating as much Cat 5e and putting as much Cat 6 and Cat 7 cable down as possible for the wired stuff, because I don't have wireless adapters in the majority of my computers. I have like a laptop,
and your
2 phones, 2 phones and a tablet. And everything else is hardwired. I now have 1 desktop that has wireless in it, and that'll be at the end of the segment here. So I got it to work. I had to move it to the corner closest to the commercial 5G tower in my town. Stick it in the window. Get it up on a pedestal so it was up high. And all of a sudden, instead of 1.17, I was able to get between 4.5 and 7.7 up, which, if you know anything about Twitch's technology caps at 6. You can send them 9, but it won't do you any good. You may actually get drop data. It just doesn't add anything to the quality of the stream because their 4K capacity is extremely limited. You can get like 2K. You can do 1440.
Also, we're mostly audio, so why the hell do you need a 4K upload?
Well, I would for my other stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Hypothetically speaking, especially now that I've got these Ultra HD monitors. And an RTX 3060 titanium. But that's neither here nor there. The bottom line is I finally gutted this network because we just kept patching stuff onto it over the last 4.5 years.
Mm-hmm.
So we started with the Cox panoramic modem. The Wi-Fi on it sucks ass. So we got an industrial switch. My friend Nathan donated one to me. And then that one, it's a little wonky, like it's real touchy. It takes a really long time to boot up, and so I mean it's a great smart switch once you get it going. But if it ever powers down, it takes like an hour for it to reset its tables or something. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. We could go into the back ends of industrial stuff for hours on me. So yeah, let's
let's not. Yeah, let's refrain. I will refrain from that. But bottom line is, we had a couple of industrial switches, and here in the room, I still have 4 switches throughout the apartment because my desk has a lot of stuff that needs to be wired in on it here. My original room here still has 2, 3, 4 computers, 3 game consoles, and stuff. And then of course there's the V-tubing closet, which I did a little restructuring on because I put in the Nighthawk router, and then the streaming room, which I will be debuting soon. I'm still figuring out which shows I want to do specifically in that room, and what games I'm going to play, and so on and so forth. The big news, though, being that I finally got over 1,000 followers on my regular TikTok. I started posting cat videos and food stuff, so that I just all kinds of crazy stuff, clips from the shows. That's one thing that's been hurting me lately, is not doing shows has prevented me from having clippable material to put on my TikTok. Because Twitch, about 6 months ago, instituted this thing to where you can now directly output to Shorts and to TikTok. So you can take your clips and stuff like that and upload them as 60-second videos. So I finally got that status, and so I was dismayed because, of course, this happens right when I lose my internet. But also, as I mentioned in the pre-show, which again you guys aren't privy to and will now be told, I have a Galaxy S23 FE as part of my Verizon package. And I have a USB-C hub, and I have a fancy little Plantronics headset and everything, so I'll be doing a lot of mobile podcasting using my phone from now on, specifically to TikTok and so on and so forth. I've set up a tripod in the streaming room specifically for this purpose, so that way I can record me playing video games and being folksy while playing stuff like, I think the first game I'm going to try on TikTok is going to be Tales of Hearts R for the Vita TV. I have it all installed and a bunch of DLC downloaded already. Sony doesn't tend to get rid of stuff post PlayStation 3 era, but I'm not taking any chances, because eventually the Vita store will disappear.
Yeah, it almost did, like, what, 2 years ago?
Yeah, but the fan backlash. I'm getting a lot of feedback from you, Adam. Okay. I don't know. Your speakers blast into your microphone or something.
Oh. Weird.
Anyway. Bottom line is, I've got a lot of stuff lined up for the sort of rebirth of the channel. In the wake of the November-December disaster, and hopefully Shadows Mist and I will also be able to start doing Walking the Wastes again and play Fallout 76 on Sundays.
Oh man,
keeping my fingers crossed, because that was a very, very popular show for us. And she may also choose to stream going forward. So, like I said, fingers crossed. So that's pretty much it for the news. If I think of anything else, I'll mention it before we leave, like if there's anything people need to know about. But I will not be doing Mary Skelter tonight. That's a work thing. That is not a streaming issue. But I will be doing Honkai Star Rail and the art stream Thursday and Friday on Upplay with Mace. Yeah, I'm getting a lot of garbled feedback from you, Adam.
Ken?
Yeah, I don't know why. It just started.
Could be a
Could be a
Discord.
Discord thing.
Could be.
Probably.
What's that?
Yeah,
Discord being dumb?
Do I need to adjust my... Let me see. Let's see. How about now?
Let's see.
Let's see.
Oh,
No
Oh,
feedback.
no feedback. Good.
yeah, it might come back again later though. So just we'll just take it as it comes, I guess.
All right.
All right. Yeah, I'm not trying to call it out or anything like that. I just it was distracting because I only have one ear on this headset, and then I could hear the feedback through my hearing's in the ultrasonic range, so I can actually hear the audio coming through my headset, which is hanging on my dressing table 3 feet away. Oh, there it is again.
Yeah.
Anyway,
we'll deal with it. We'll deal with it. Anyway, all right, guest, unmute yourself because we're getting this rolling. Our guest tonight is a very storied creator and sound engineer, and he's got a lot of stuff. We are proud to have Lisle Engle on the show. Hey, Lisle. He is the creator of Heavy Distance, and he's going to tell us all about that shortly. But first, Lisle, could you give everybody a brief introduction of yourself so that way we can get rolling here?
Sure. I live in LA. I'm kind of an old dude, I guess. I'm 57 now. But I came out here in like 1989, just having come from college. I grew up down south, wanted to play in bands, got in a band in Boston, and then I moved to LA in like 1989, there was the Sunset Strip, all that stuff was happening, and played in a couple of great bands that, didn't quite make it, but all that whole time I just got into doing, like in 89, computers and audio hit each other, like digital audio happened. And so I was like, I'm into computers. I always have been since I was using like Commodore PETs and TRS-80s when I was a kid. So I've always right? I've always geeked out on computers, but then I was geeking out on sound too, and then they like both hit each other. So I didn't have a car, but I had a Mac 2, which was a pretty expensive piece of gear back then. Because I knew if I bought the gear, I could buy a car. But if I bought the car, I would never buy the gear because I wouldn't be able to afford it. I'd be making car payments. So I rode a motorcycle, like a little 250 Honda thing for the 2 first years I was in LA. And then it's a lot of things happened, but basically I got into doing post audio, and then worked on a bunch of crappy like Roger Corman films, and then worked well, and Corman's cool too, but like there's levels of weirdness there.
I'm a big fan, believe me. I'm a big fan. The Intruder, Battle Beyond the Stars, his failed Fantastic Four movie.
I was doing stuff with like Don the Dragon Wilson. Actually, the first movie I worked on, which was a Corman movie, was oh my God, who's the girl? I'm so bad with names. Sandra Bullock. It was Sandra Bullock's first movie called Fire on the Amazon.
Oh my
God! Willem Dafoe.
My name's at the end of that. That was my very first ever credit that I got, which I guess is kind of cool. But and then I just kind of built it up from there. I worked on a lot of like Showtime stuff, and there was this company called Digital Sound and Picture, which was taking everything out of the tape, 24-track tape era and mag era into the digital era. And so we were all the kids that wanted to go digital and kind of leaving the old guys behind kind of thing. The old guys. This is like what, 1992 or whatever.
Tape is for squares, bro.
Right. So So anyhow, so I did that and did pretty well at that, and then I had a chance to a game called Myst came out. You know the game
Oh
Myst,
yeah.
adventure
Yep.
game, right? And so all of a sudden, these guys that made this CD-ROM game made millions and millions of dollars. And so me and a couple other guys were like, well, we could make one of those. And so we kind of made some weird shit for like 6 months, and then we sent our demo to Broderbund, and then they signed us. They said, we want this game, and sent us a giant, huge check because everyone was just trying to find the next thing. So that was a game called Welcome to the Future. It was out in like 1995. It's kind of very esoteric, just like weird music and graphics.
Very,
kind of
very,
like
very Journeyman Project Turbo or something esque.
we didn't even know what we were doing. We were just like buying all like digital video was a brand new thing, and like Windows 95 and just weird shit, and you had to cram your entire game, through a 2 times CD-ROM player, which is 300 kilobytes a second.
Right.
So everything that you did had to flow through a 300 kilobytes per second, pipeline to get to the computer, and God knows what's going to happen,
Oh yeah. We were talking high latencies too. God, it took me months to get the damn 2x CD-ROM drive to work on my parents' compact Presario back in the day.
It was not for the faint of heart, I guess you would say.
No.
So that was my first foray into the gaming world, and we got a huge check, and oh my God, we're going to make all this money, and then bad business decisions were made by partners that will go unnamed, and it all ended up crashing and burning when like a big semi truck pulled up and unloaded like pallets and pallets of the game. I don't know. We sold, 10 or 12,000, something like that, like at Comp USA back in the day, but the games were $40 each. So, we made some money, but then they bring this truck in and drop all these returns. And then my business partner is like, oh, wait, we have to pay for the returns. I'm like, dude, boom, just everything blows up in like one day. So I was like, fuck this whole thing, moved back to LA, got my old sound job back, and then ended up doing tons of cool shit, like the Austin Powers 1 and 2 were like kind of my favorite ones. I dug that, and I got to work on Vanilla Sky, Monsters Ball. I dug that, and I got the Oscar for yeah, see, I'm so bad at names.
Billy Bob and Halle Berry. Infamous movie.
Yeah, and weird shit like Freddy versus Jason, and this really one of my favorite movies I did sound design for is called Session 9. I don't know if anyone's ever seen this movie.
I have watched this.
That movie is super cool, and I encourage anyone to watch this movie because it's like these guys, they're asbestos removal team, and they go into this old insane asylum that they want to like rehab the building, and they're taking all the asbestos out, but meanwhile there's this weird spirit, and this guy's like down he finds this stash of all the records of all the psychos that had lived in this insane asylum, and he finds this box full of tapes. Session 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. There's these reel of tapes. So on his break, he goes down and starts listening to the tapes, and the girl starts talking to him, who's the crazy girl, and like ends up all this crazy shit happens. But it's creepy just because the whole thing is set in this old insane asylum. They didn't even like make a set. They just walked in with cameras and shot it in this place. It's fucking crazy.
Oh, wow.
There's actually this site called opacity.org. It used to be, they had to change their name, opacity.com or something, where it's all about all these abandoned buildings. And that was one of the buildings that they did. Was that insane asylum? God, I forget the name of the asylum. But anyway, there's a ton of weird shit like that. But that was one of the shows that I've done in the past. But so now I'm working on. I just worked on One Piece, giant, huge show, very, very high end corporate. Very demanding.
Oh yeah.
Working with people behind you all day.
As
really
they do at Shonen Jump.
Yes.
Yes.
The post audio is really interesting, and I've made a career out of it. It can be very daunting at times, but ultimately when you get on a mix stage, it's not like you're like Mr. Designer in your own little world in your room. Like there's people behind you like saying we need this, that. So it's like very high energy, high pressure. People want it's their money though. They're paying you to sit there to do it. So no longer am I Mr. Artiste with my own opinions about what I'm doing. This is a service business now. And so you have to be able to run when people say run, you freaking got to make it happen. We want verb on this and put it over there and do this. We need to replace that whole car thing and put a new thing. We got it coming in. It's coming in on 50 tracks. Oh, okay. So you got to slam that into all of your different groups and stuff that you've made and be able to push it out the back end. So it can be crazy, but it's very rewarding too. And I work with amazing people, and I'm very grateful and proud, I guess, of all the sound work I've done over the years. I've met lots of great friends.
Yeah. I always tell people that if you want to get an idea of what this is like, just watch the show Toast of the Town.
I don't know that I've seen that one.
It's a British comedy, and I can't remember the name of the lead actor, but he's a voiceover.
The Toast of London?
The Toast of London, yeah, the Toast of London.
Yeah, that stars Matthew Berry.
Yeah, Matthew Berry, but it also has a slightly lesser known but equally infamous actor, Shazad Latif, who plays Clem Fandango.
Yeah, the names are very ridiculous.
And he's the guy who's always, he pushes the button, he goes, Steve, this is Clem Fandango. Can you hear me? And then he releases the button and he responds, yes, I can hear you. And then he's like, okay, so what they want is, and then he starts gesturing loudly with his hands and takes his finger off the button.
That's definitely happened before. Something though? Like I've found that the best way to do it is don't put people in the bubble over there. You get worse results from the talent because they feel separated from the people in the room. Like, because all they get is the button click and then, okay, give us a take. Go. 1, 2, 2, 2. And then they say their line. And then like they look through the window and see everyone talking, but they can't hear anything they're saying. So they're completely removed from the artistic kind of flow that would be going on. So I like to record people doing voiceover in the room with everybody there. It's more kind of like a rock way, like when say you'd have the lead guitarist, and he could come into the control room and they'd have the amp in the main, the studio over there, but everyone could sit around and listen to the takes and you could do stuff and, work together on a song like that. But if you're in the other room and you never get the input from everybody sitting around, then I feel like it's bad for the actors even. It's just puts them in the spot and they don't really know what anyone wants. There's a thing called
go ahead, sorry.
Have you ever seen you can go to YouTube. It's called the Santa Sessions, and it's about they're bringing Santa in to do ADR, because they want him to do the line "ho ho ho." So he comes in, he does the first one, oh ho ho, and then they're like, "Okay, man, that was great. We know this is your thing, but we're kind of wanting to go this direction with it. So can you go a little bit more like this?" And so then, like 2 hours later, he's just screaming, "Oh, oh, 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 oh," into the mic, and they're like, "Oh, we'll edit it later. We just need to get all these takes." And so it's just kind of look it up, the Santa sessions, and it's pretty cool.
It's like
that bit where Shatner and the corporate guy get into it over their training video.
Right, same kind of thing.
Yeah,
I'm sure that was like in the mid to late '90s or whatever. But because Howard Stern like busted him on that one back in 2008, if I remember correctly, and he's like, "So are you just an asshole or what?" And he's all like, "I was probably an angrier man."
Yeah.
All right. I am loving this stream of consciousness thing, but I do want to make sure that Adam is able to get to specific questions, so that way we can cover as much material as possible. So while if you'll indulge us, Adam, you have the floor, boss.
Okay. Well, I suppose before we get into heavy distance, we should touch upon the One Piece stuff, since, well, your name was kind of all attached that the heavy distance materials. Like, what did you specifically do for the One Piece show?
For the One Piece show, I am. I'm hearing a slap back from you. All right, now, Scott. I am the sound effects mixer on the re-recording stage, which means that I work with a partner whose name is Matt Vowles, who is super awesome and has a killer goth band called Black Angel. Anyway, besides that, we've been working together as partners at Warner Brothers for, I don't know, 6 or 7 years now. And so he mixes the dialogue and the music, and then I mix the sound effects and the backgrounds and the Foley. If you don't know what Foley is, that's like all the human movement, which includes footsteps and picking up silverware and plate noise when people are cutting their steak, and just any kind of thing, opening mail or whatever, cooking, chopping, any human movement is kind of Foley. And depending on the show, I can have hundreds of tracks that get delivered to me. So I have to have, be able to organize it in a way that I can take fixes. What happens is they send the show out to the sound editors, and then the sound supervisor says, "Okay, we have a car chase here, you do this. We have a gun battle here, you do this. We have a fight, punches and blood spattering when people get punched or whatnot." So the editors do the editing. They have libraries that they pull from of guns and punches and crashes and glass and explosions and you name it. So they put those things together and then the supervisor looks at it if they have time, which we always hope, but sometimes they can't because crazy schedules, but whatever. So they look at it and they say, "Lisle, here's your tracks." And, it can be hundreds of tracks. And so I talk to the editors, we organize them in certain ways. And then, so I'll, like for One Piece, I'll have the punches, I'll have the swords, I'll have the shields, I'll have the boat on a certain thing. But the boat is just not like, here's the boat on like one fader. The boat is, I have 20 tracks of boat creaks. And then I have 20 tracks of wind in the sails. And then I have 20 tracks or 10 tracks of outside waves, and then 10 tracks of inside waves, whatever. Just crazy amounts of things. So, but you work with your editors, they give them to you in an organized way. And then what happens is I have my own little mix room, and I take the stuff there and I kind of do pre-dubs on it. And then my partner does pre-dubs at his little studio. like doing the music and the dialogue, and then we switch the stems. We send stems to each other, and then we play it back against that, and then we decide, okay, we're pretty much in the pocket here, and so then we send that to the sound super. He listens to it and says, great, we're going to bring it to the stage. And so then we bring all those tracks to the stage and go through the whole show with him and decide that's too loud, that's too soft, and usually at this point, none of the music is even, it's just temp. It's nothing that's actually going to be in there. So we just kind of make a pass at our best guess. And then the day after that, we would have the producer show up, showrunner, and he would go through it with us. But we've worked with him on many shows, so he knows when he comes in that we will have prepared it in a decent way, just from doing it years and years. That's how you do it. You meet people that like working with you, and then they request you. We hope and pray that is how it works. So the strike has been going on, so everyone now in my world is completely scrambling because we all have houses, cars, electricity, kids, like everybody. So it's been a little rough. I know a lot of people who've had a really bad time, but that doesn't mean that I don't understand why the strikes were happening. There's a lot of implications to go with the AI and all that, especially in our industry. So I support them. I just wish that reasonable people could get together and make a deal in a month instead of destroying people's lives with their ludicrous crap, especially when there's like 10 guys holding it up and making hundreds of billions of dollars. I think it's shameful. I'm all for people making money, but it's just gross, whatever.
Yeah.
So not to get political on everybody. So anyway,
we're all about that.
So the question was, what do I do? That's kind of what I do. I take those tracks, we put them all together, and then after the producer comes in, that was like the fourth day, I believe, on these mixes. And then the fifth day, they would bring in what we call the suits. Those are the executives from the network are going to come in, and they're going to sit back there, and they're going to watch it, and then it's good or it's bad. So everything went pretty smoothly on One Piece. Sometimes it goes smoothly, and sometimes it doesn't. It just kind of depends on the crew.
Sometimes you're keeping yourself from strangling a suit with an XLR cable.
Hey, and there's that, but then the other part of me is like, well, we're going to hit overtime in about 2 hours. So let them keep radiating. I get paid by the hour.
Stretch it out just with your fingers.
Hey, more money for me, baby. Yeah.
The other thing, too, is if you go 2 more hours, you got to buy me dinner.
Ooh.
Union rules, baby.
That's it.
Hey, baby, that's what it's about.
We're going with the other definition of no cap there. We're talking about no cap on the bill. No limit. Spago's it is.
Yeah, it's cool. It's a cool gig. I definitely kind of got I don't know what I would say. I'm going to back out of that one.
Okay. Fair enough.
I don't want to. I really am very grateful for everything that's happened. But I guess that takes us how we got here to heavy distance, right? Is that where we're going?
Yeah, because your sound design career is very different to what's here. But I think you connected the dots in another way with the whole 90s adventure stint.
Mm-hmm. And I was way into like the TRS-80. There was this guy, Scott Adams, that he had like Pirates Adventure, and they would publish it in this one magazine where they put they printed the code. And so me and my buddy, we stayed up like 2 days typing that shit in to be able to play the game because we didn't have $20 to go and buy the cassette tape, to load in. So but then I was
back when
I
games
was of
had
the
short enough
age,
code that you could do that.
well, I was of the age where arcades were like, Pac-Man and Donkey Kong and Tempest and Defender and all that shit was like brand new. And so after school, when I was in like 8th grade, the thing to do was go and get pizza and play video games, And then I was like, I don't have money to put 25 cents in every time. And I don't have, Atari was just kind of brand new, but Atari 2600 really wasn't quite as cool as playing the actual games, And so then I was like, well, if I had a computer, I could learn how to program that, even though I never programmed any of the games that I planned on programming. But then,
and then I can make my own game.
Right. Thank you. I can think of my own game, which to me is kind of like writing a song. And so
my own game with blackjack and hookers.
it's neither of those are out of contention. But for me, it was it's kind of the same thing. Like I felt like when we made Welcome to the Future that we kind of did something kind of cool that it was not like any other video games were. It was very esoteric and kind of just like, what is this weirdness? This is just weird guys making stuff just artistically. It wasn't about like shooting things. And then, Doom came out and then real-time 3D came out. And then everything took off towards the first-person shooter model. And then the Myst model got kind of lost. I mean, there's Riven and then, there's other things. And there's still kind of on the side. There's a little bit of that. And so that's who I'm making Heavy Distance for, really, because I just wanted to make something that, like, Heavy Distance has, there's no points, there's no death, there's no danger. You just kind of walk around and look at stuff, and you kind of try to figure out what's going on with there's like no instructions really, you just kind of, it's like if I give the controller to my daughter, she can immediately, she's 15, so boom, she's running around doing everything. I give the mobile game to my mother-in-law, and she's like, what? I don't know what this is even all about, So I'm in this weird world where I can remember where there wasn't video games, and then where I thought that video games could be taken like almost in a like cinematic, like a narrative or metaphorical way, and then it kind of went into a destroy everything that you see way. And so which, I guess that's fine. I spend zero time playing shooter games at all. Like, I have an old console. My favorite is it's Mario Brothers, the original one I like to play, where little crabs and stuff run out. But, it's like I'm not invested in this giant, huge thing. So, but the impetus, I think, or what I was trying to do with Heavy Distance was to make kind of a virtual album cover. I used to sit and look at Kiss Alive 2 and listen to
that was back in the day.
Right. Or everybody's done it. Or at least when you were buying albums, you would stare at it like ELO with the spaceship on the front. And you'd be like, looking at, there's a little guy coming off the spaceship over here. And then over here, there's a docking bay. And like you turn it over and you read the liner notes, like who was in it and everything. And then when the whole file transfer MP3 kind of thing happened, it all became just files, and it wasn't personal in any way, right? And so, and then also when you had files, you could steal it really easily, right? Because with vinyl or tape, you had to go and buy it at the store. You had to buy it and put it in your hand. So my way, Heavy Distance was kind of my way to try to say, okay, you could, if you have streaming on Apple, you can stream it anywhere. And their song was actually released back in 2007. So you could just, if you wanted to just hear the song, you could go back and do that. But I was trying to take that old song of mine and then take the metaphors of the lyrics and wrap it in a gaming environment where the stuff that you encountered was kind of like surreal imagery related to the lyrics. So it says, "Do you remember a time?" So there's all these clocks hidden around representing time. And I have a recent photograph. And so you're looking for these weird big Polaroid photographs that have times written on them, where if you match them to the times of the clock, then at the end you get a reward of seeing the song, and so a part of me was like, well, shouldn't you just play the song? And I did get a complaint in a review. It was like, well, I never got to the song. And there is a point to that, but if you type Heavy Distance into Google, you can already hear the song. So that's kind of how I just left that one. But it was basically just trying to make a way where for $1, you used to be able to sell a song for $1. You'd buy a 45 back in the day, or you would download and buy the file on YouTube. But then streaming started, and so now everybody just pays $10 a month to get everything instead of buying specific singles. So I thought, well, what's a way that I can capture that dollar back? Instead of when somebody listens to Heavy Distance, I get 0.0003%. Then here I can get actually 60 cents, and if people like it enough, and then you get like this actual app and this kind of little experience. And I don't know, I think that gamer types, you could get through it in like an hour and a half. So, what's an hour of your entertainment time worth? Whatever, but I priced it at $1 just because I want people to check it out. I don't want to charge $5. It's not meant to be this unlimited world that you can explore forever and have 1,000 side missions that you can discover. Those are AAA games with thousands of people working on them, right? I made the entire game myself. Every graphic, every model. I bought some models. Yes, for sure. I bought some models because I can't model all that shit. It takes forever. So, but I paid for those elements, but I made the whole landscape and programmed it all myself, and it's just me trying to make something halfway interesting. That's just, I'm not a professional video game maker. I'm just like a dude who thinks I could make something cool. That's all it is, really.
I think that's all of our stories here.
Yeah, that's a lot of game makers' intent. Not all of them, but we talk with the game dev types a lot. And also, your game is not out of sorts in the modern landscape. Not when things like Dear Esther, Everyone's Gone to the Rapture, Oxenfree, and on it goes, that explore different themes, ideas, what have you, and are less concerned about being games than they are about pursuing a narrative.
Yeah, that's good. See, I'm not a gamer, so I don't know. I've heard of Dear Esther, but the other ones I haven't heard of. So, if anybody's fans of that, I guess check out my shit. I mean, I'm completely not up to. I don't play lots of games. I'm usually just busy doing my work. So it's weird trying to navigate in a gaming world. I'm just making what I think I would want to see or something.
Well, I mean, that's kind of the, I guess, for lack of a better term, magic, if you will, of modern game design. We've got it to where it's kind of full circle in terms of game development. You mentioned that whole typing out a game code,
Right.
and that was a lot of the first game developers. A lot of small bedroom programmers and whatnot, and we're kind of back to that in certain sectors. Because
Sorry, an interesting part to me on that side is like when I was doing that, there wasn't any kind of YouTube anything. There was no internet. So if you wanted to learn how to program something, you had to go and like buy books that were seriously dense, man. Like it was hard to as I don't know, I guess I started in kind of 6th grade. You get like the school I went to got a Commodore PET and had this game where you would play golf, but there's no graphics. It would just say, pick your club. Okay, it would say you're 180 yards from the pin. The wind is 10 miles an hour, and so then you'd pick a club and go, hit the button, spacebar, boom, you swing. The ball has gone it's like it was just words on the screen, but it seems so fucking cool. I don't know why that seemed so cool, but it was. So that made me want to learn how to do what was happening there. And then you play Missile Command, then you're all done. 100% down the hole.
Believe me, I know about that. I had my first experience with Missile Command and Pac-Man in 1981 when my dad dragged home the Atari 2600.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I had one. I had the very first actual video game 10 years before that, I think. It was made by Magnavox.
Magnavox Odyssey.
Odyssey. Yeah. It came in
with the clings that stuck to your screen.
Exactly.
Your TV screen, yeah.
There was only one game. The game was the little blob on the screen. So then they would give you all of these different, and there was multiple sizes. So if you had a 25-inch or a 19-inch or a 32-inch, I think those were the ones. So it came with 3 sets of vinyl, see-through, not vinyl, but like kind of transparent plastic things. And so there's 10 games and 10 cartridges that you would put in. That was just like a chip with a fucking handle on it, and you just plug it in there. And but you'd take a piece of Scotch tape and you'd put the screen on the front of your TV, and that was like tennis. All of a sudden you're playing tennis, but it was just Pong, Or then you'd play the ski game, and it was just you running a dot and making it would go down to the bottom of the screen, and so you would go left and right to get to the bottom. I don't even remember how you won. It's just ridiculous, but that actually was cool, when you're freaking 10 years old or whatever.
Oh man.
Yeah. So.
No, go ahead.
Oh, I don't know. Throw me a question. Do you have another question?
Well, I was about to ask about the other part of this game / experience, and that's the song itself. Did you compose the Heavy Distance song?
I did. That was that's kind of why I chose it. I chose it because it's a ballad. I didn't think it would. I thought that having kind of just more medium tempo song would be the way to go. And that's one of my oldest songs. I wrote that song in like 1986, I think. Yeah, something like that. And then I wrote it over the summer about this chick I was missing, and I wrote the lyrics it was spring break trip of when I was in college. So that was 86, and we went to Big Bend National Park, which is the very tip of Texas, and we drove from Rice all the way down to there, like 5 of us with all of our gear in a Toyota Sentra, like just gear piled to I don't even know how we did it. So anyway, but I had never seen that kind of landscape before, and so I had my little, scribble book, and I wrote something about heavy distance. And so then later that summer, I was back home in Savannah, and was thinking about that girl, and then I wrote that song. So it's been around for a long time. I've done a couple of different versions of it over the years, but so that's the story of the song. It's a nice love song, but I kind of just took the metaphors of the song and then made it like a dolly painting that you can walk around. Is what I was trying to do, right? Whether I achieve that or not, that's for everyone to decide for themselves. But I was basically just trying to make something different and something that I thought that this kind of thing would have taken off like after in the 90s. I would have thought every band would have conceptual albums all in like a gaming thing, like, with all kinds of cool shit. I don't see it. Am I wrong? Are they there that I just don't know about it?
No, I don't think that was ever a thing that really happened. Unless we're talking about Kiss, maybe.
What now? I mean, I'm a huge Kiss.
I'm talking about back then. Though I'm not sure if I would call Kiss Psycho Circus a concept album.
Yeah, they. I don't love Kiss because of their concept albums. That's for sure. I love Kiss because I was like 13, listening to fucking Deuce jumping around my bedroom with a tennis racket. Like
right.
With fucking Ace Frehley poster on the ceiling of my room. I just, I guess I was always more into kind of the, like, I don't know. I was more of a rock singer, not even rock. I was a complete geek ass, when I was playing with my Commodore PET in 6th grade. So I can't come off like I'm some badass for my whole life because who is it anyway? But
don't come for your cred, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, everybody's been dumb and everybody's done silly stuff, but that's what gets you where you're going. You gotta like feel like you want to do that. And the other option was sports, and I don't know, playing football and getting just smashed into didn't ever sound like fun, so I didn't do it. So I don't want to.
You and me both, brother.
Yeah,
getting yelled at by the coach was not working for me. Let's just say that in 5th grade, even. So I didn't sign up anymore.
I feel you. Like, football was something my brothers pursued, not I.
And I'm sure that was positive for them. Just people are different, Team building shit is really cool, I think. So if you can go out and get on a football team and kick everybody's ass and just be bitching at what you're doing, hell yeah. That is just once again, you're just channeling. You're channeling into life, like what you want to happen and what you like and what you feel. Do that, and that's what heavy distance is. We sold a few units back in 1995, so I'm going to make a new one and see if I can sell any more. But I also get off on just the technical part of it, like the coding and like learning how to do shit and make it happen. Like, believe me, my wife will fucking tell you in a second. She hates listening to me bitch when I'm in the middle of I can't figure this out. God damn it. I fucking fixed this already. Now it's broken again, And then I scare the little Chihuahua dogs that I have, and then everyone goes and cowers in the other room. I mean, I'm not like an ogre or anything, but I can complain. Put it that way. When I can't figure it out. But something, it pisses me off. It's a challenge. And so I'm not gonna let it beat me. And god damn it, just putting the stupid game on the fucking stores. Okay, here you go. Here's my first time developer thing. Don't waste your time putting anything on the Microsoft store. It's Steam and Apple, really. I don't know. I mean, maybe everyone hates my game on Android. I haven't sold shit on Android really. I
Nobody
don't know.
buys anything on Android that's not Minecraft.
I mean, on mobile stuff, you have a hard time getting people to pay for stuff.
Yeah, I'm just saying I spent hours and hours doing, and I know you can get the things that automatically make all your graphics and shit, but then you put them in there and they look like crap. You always got to change something. There's like 10,000 fucking little things you have to do. It's more complicated than making the goddamn game. I just want to put like 5 pictures up and post the app. Is that okay with anybody? Apparently not. That is not how it goes.
Amazing.
That is
Amazing.
not. So, as a, I guess, first time indie developer, make that shit easier. Jesus Christ. Steam. Oh, just shoot me. That whole Steam uploader thing. Jesus. Whatever. I will say I'm a Mac guy. I know most gamer types because all the coolest games come out on PC. But like for doing sound and audio, I've always just liked Mac. I developed a Heavy Distance. I did all on Mac, and I have a new thing that I'm hoping is going to be like a so I did a single, right? And so the single is wrapped in the game and kind of like everything matches up. It's like the lyrics and the graphics and the thing, blah blah blah, right? So my next one is I'm hoping to do a 4-song EP that it's going to be more a little more dark than like Heavy Distance is very rated G. There's no death, there's no nothing, no one gets shot, you don't steal anything, kill anybody. It's like completely rated G on purpose because I just wanted to not have to worry about all those things. And then you got to fill out all these questionnaires when you put it on the thing, and then like App Store management is not what I want to do with my life. So, and then, the new one I hope will be like 4 songs, and it's called Power Lines, and it's going to be all about how the world gets power from the different sources of, fossil fuels and green power and nuclear power and just all the different power sources. But it's going to be completely non-political, but more just like mathematical. And it's also about, though, it is political in a way, I guess, not in that it's power lines are also the family lines, the lineages of the kings and queens and everyone through history, right? So there's the power of there's the actual power in the fucking line. So when the storm comes through and knocks the line down, it takes you out of the thing. But also how the families and the culture got everybody here. But it's going to be kind of in the way Welcome to the Future was, very imagery. It's not going to be like shoving anything down your throat. Anyhow, that's my next one. If I finish it.
Well, how far along is Power Lines?
I've built the first world pretty much. I feel like I've gotten in front of it on the building of the actual game section because I haven't finished the songs yet. And so I want to flesh out the 4 songs into it. Maybe it'll go 6, but I'm just trying to keep it within a certain pocket, which I think is important, dude, especially if you're trying to develop a game by yourself, man. You have to try to make it manageable at some level because it can just spill into hours and hours and days. So I'm just kind of doing it as I go, like while we watch football on TV or something, and we're all just chilling. I'm developing in Unity, which I'm wondering if is the smartest thing, but I've spent so much time learning it that it makes no sense to try to switch now. And I'm not making enough money to really fall into all the tiers of their grand money scheme or whatever the fuck they're doing over there. But it makes me, because you go to that asset store and there's just all kinds of shit there that you can buy. And you can think about stuff and like, what do I need for my game? And like, you might not, like go and buy like a laboratory or whatever, but then you steal like 3 of the cool things out of there and change the textures and move them around a little bit. And then now you got your own thing going on, right? And it's not like you didn't pay them for it. You did pay them for it, but it's like, I'm not going to use their exact model in my game because everyone will go, you bought that on Unity Store. And then I'll look like an idiot. But you can steal just enough. You can like get just enough custom textures. You can like buy enough, whatever the thing is. Like right now, my model has a bunch of what do you call them? Power towers. Like with like power lines going down with different towers, different models that I bought, and then I've kind of laid them out in a cool way. I'm not going to sit and model power towers. That's way too much work. Modeling is rough, man. That's a lot of time. If you want to make a real one that will like have all the different fucking levels of the LOD and all that shit, Jesus Christ. I don't even want to think about that.
Hell yeah.
Probably best not to. Now, the songs that you're putting in this new experience, are they other things that you wrote back in the 80s, or are they going to be brand new?
This is my brand new. And an interesting thing is that, all of my stuff has been rock guitar, big guitar oriented, big vocal, big guitar kind of music. It's not folk music, put it that way, right? It's like cheap. I love like Cheap Trick and Van Halen, and but there's another side of me that is more kind of like Peter Gabriel-ish. So I guess Heavy Distance kind of goes in there. I've done many different instances, so I did play acoustic a lot at one point, and so on that record that Heavy Distance is on, it's called California Miles from 2007. There's a band, a lot of those songs were played with a band where I had this incredible violinist named Dorian Chia who played with me. And he played with me for years, and the bass and drummer, Steve Holmes and Giuseppe Patane, we played at like the Cat Club every week when it was still there, right by the whiskey, like we had a residency there for maybe a year and a half, tried to turn that into a deal, got kind of close, but and what is a record deal anymore, especially at my age? I'm 57, so I have family and just a house and shit going on. I can't just go on the road, Like, no one would buy tickets is the other thing.
Come on, man. Weird Al is doing it.
Hey, man.
And he's what, 64 now?
Yeah, it's not about the age. I just it's you could build it. There's just a certain amount of luck, I guess, in the whether you're I know a lot of great players and a lot of great bands who never, got their due, I guess you would say, as far as money goes or any of that kind of stuff. But it's just a lot of it is a lot of chance of what will line up and what doesn't line up. And, did your gear all get stolen or blah, 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 blah. There's like 1,000 ways that things can go wrong. And I do have to say that I'm glad I'm not trying to stay like relevant as as an old guy trying to. I feel like I would have been. What's his name from Stone Temple Pilots? Scott Weiland. You know, I would have.
Scott Weiland.
He was great. I love Stone Temple Pilots, but you know, me alone, rock star guy. I probably would not have made it. I probably would have just not made it. So I'm glad that I'm kind of doing. I don't know. Did I have a second act? I guess maybe that's what heavy distance is. Like I feel grateful that I didn't succumb, I guess, to the rock and roll dream. Like so many great freaking guys that I know, just
live fast, die young.
That's what I'm trying to say. Thank you, and I don't take it away from anyone either, man. Do what you're gonna do. Your life is your life.
The flip side is why I brought up Weird Al is because back in '81 when he signed with Scotty Brothers, he foolishly signed a 14 album deal.
Yeah,
which is a large number of albums for anyone.
So for the next 28 years, he was releasing an album every couple of years until he finally got to Mandatory Fun, his final album, and in 2014, and he said, "Enough, I'm done. I will never make another studio album as long as I live." And he's just going on tour, living his best life and crashing conventions and just being an awesome dude.
And there was also the Weird Al movie. Yeah,
true, and that is technically a studio album as well. But he didn't sit there crunching out 14 songs for it.
True, I actually saw that.
All props to Weird Al, man. He is a guy that just found his persona and completely materialized it. Good for him.
Yeah, what I was actually going to say was 14 is a large number of albums for anyone, never mind someone who is effectively doing it backwards ending heels, or whatever the saying is for making parodies of other people's songs.
He did a lot of original stuff too. I mean, like at least eight tracks on every album was
there's original funny stuff. There's original stuff and there's style parodies, which are original, but you can kind of tell what they're going for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then there's just the flat out polkas.
Yes.
Sure, yeah. He loves that shit.
Yeah.
The Hamilton polka is probably one of his greatest works.
I like Craigslist, the Doors one.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Well, we should put a pin on this since the time grows short.
Okay, wait. I have one question though. Did anybody here play the game? Has anyone seen it?
I did. Took me about an hour and a half to get through it. I felt like I was playing a 90s adventure game.
Pretty much.
So I thought there was something to that, and I'm glad to know that there it was.
If your goal was to make a experience for people who don't have time to experience a lot, you succeeded.
It's not supposed to be the end all be all of anything. It's just an album cover for a song that's kind of interesting and I hope worth $1. That's all.
Yeah, like I said, if you were trying to make just a fun little experience for people who don't have a lot of time for fun, then you succeeded beyond your wildest dreams.
Mm-hmm. I appreciate it, man. I appreciate you guys having me on.
No problem, no problem. And maybe we'll have you on again when Power Lines is out.
I'll be working on that. It's probably it's not a undaunting task. But I have
Indeed.
Adam. I'll send you a couple screenshots of where I'm at.
Okay.
But it's far from done. But you could throw it up in your thread.
Yeah,
Awesome.
post it here on the Discord.
Yeah, that'll be nice.
Anyway, probably
Lyle, let me just quickly ask one last thing. Lyle, do you have any appearances you want to promote, or anything coming up that you'd like to draw attention to before we sign off for the night?
I am actually playing a show. If you are in LA, I'm playing Thursday, the 18th. So 2 Thursdays from now, I think. At Universal Bar and Grill, which is a cool little dive bar right outside of Universal Studios there. And we're playing with a band that does all Chris Cornell stuff for all you Seattle rock fans. And there's like 3 different cover bands playing, and then we're gonna do a few, and it should be fun. We sounded pretty badass in our last rehearsal, actually, for a few like old weird dudes that live here in Burbank. Man, we can seriously rock it. It's pretty fun.
Nice.
That's it.
All right.
If you got an extra hour and want to check out Heavy Distance, 99 cents
Absolutely.
on all of your favorite platforms.
Nice. All right. Well, it was lovely talking.
Anything on Twitter, I probably won't fucking read it.
Yeah, fuck that guy that owns that, whatever his name is.
Talk to me on YouTube, man. Go to YouTube and watch a couple videos and comment. That's my best play.
Mm-hmm.
That's right.
Hi.
Lyle, it was lovely talking to you, and I really appreciate you taking the time to indulge in our eccentricities here.
It's been a delight, man. I really had a good time. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. You are welcome to stick around for our entertainment segment. We will be talking about the industry. I guarantee it. But that's another 15, 20 minutes or so. So you're welcome to stick around. Everybody, that's Lisle Engle, and check out his game Heavy Distance on Steam. It is a musical and visual experience that you will probably get some great enjoyment out of. So check it out.
We hope.
Fingers crossed. That's right. And I put the link to it in the chat, so anybody who wants to catch up on that can do so.
Thank you.
All right, so absolutely, man. All right, so it is time for entertainment. Adam, before I hand things over to you, I do have one quick minor announcement. City of Heroes is now back officially. It is out of the shadows and out of the dark. The Homecoming
I recall reading
crew,
something about that.
The Homecoming crew has gotten an official legal license from NCSoft and is setting up a city hall to gather assets from all of the private servers to try to integrate as much as possible into theirs, because there's kind of a dark implication there. Homecoming now will have the legal right to shut down other private servers. They probably won't, but setting up a city hall to try to integrate the best features of all of the servers into theirs, as well as story and development aspects of it, because there's quite a bit on New Dawn. I got to tell you, their biggest competitor is New Dawn, and they've got a lot. They have extremely advanced archetypes, among other things, as well as story elements that are not in the main game, and so on and so forth. So it'll be interesting to see how this integration goes as far as all of that. But City of Heroes is back officially for anybody who wants to play it. the Homecoming version is now the NCSoft endorsed canon continuation of the existing storyline. So I'm kind of excited about that because that's what we basically do here on this channel on Blue Mondays. So anybody who has hesitated because of the sort of gray nature of what was going on with all that has one less concern on their plate as far as rejoining the game and engaging in the nostalgia that we have loved for the past 5 years. So that's that. Adam, you're up, buddy.
Right. So we got to talk about SAG-AFTRA this week. Like,
Oh God, because they did the dumb.
Yep.
I'm like, yeah. So in case you haven't heard the news, like,
Can I join you in that rock you're under?
well,
Yeah.
I'm just assuming that you don't know a lot of voiceover people, because apparently yesterday SAG-AFTRA has reached an agreement with a historic deal with Replica Studios, in
Is it
regards
an AI
to
company?
AI voiceover work. In that this Replica Studios will be able to create digital backups.
Is this confirmed? Because I got to tell you, I saw
confirmed.
another voice actor saying that he is a member of the SAG board and has never heard of any of this.
I mean,
It was
the deal
confirmed
is-
by the union itself.
Yeah,
Okay, just want to
I'm
make
like-
sure because
it's
a lot
all
of
over-
members are saying that they did not actually see the deal.
Yeah,
Well, they did not see the deal until today when they posted it.
Okay.
Which is its own big question mark because a lot of the voice-over people I've been following, they are very pissed right now.
That's
Because-
one way to put it lightly.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
it's like, because they're all saying that they weren't consulted about this, and like I said, like apparently, I don't know, something's gonna happen next week. Like I've seen emergency meetings or something like that, but I'll be honest, I don't really have a good eye for what's actually going on here because, well, when the voiceover talent doesn't know what's going on, it's kind of hard to.
Mm-hmm.
And then the worst thing about it is that the union said that this agreement apparently was approved by what was the terminology? The affected people in the affected industry. And you're seeing a lot of voiceover people in the video game and animation so forth going, excuse me?
That begs the question of who's actually speaking here, because it's like the SAG-AFTRA reps may not be wrong per se, but it's like, who are the voiceover people who approved this? Because last time I checked, things like this have to be voted on, don't they? Like
That's what I thought.
Yeah. Well,
because,
like I said, ranking members of the community. I had a name. I follow Steve Bloom and other people like that who are kind of high up in the voiceover community.
Steve Bloom is absolutely pissed.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
He was
They're
very
coming out and
pissed
saying
about
I have.
this.
They're coming out and saying I have no idea what the fuck you're talking about.
So it's not just the ranking file that seem to be, pissed off
It's
here.
the big names.
It's all the way up. And if that's the case, I'm wondering how real this deal actually is.
Well, it's real enough for that the chief negotiator apparently said that they shouldn't be listening to certain voices over this because they're not necessarily reflective of the overall industry, which is a very nice thing to say.
Oh my God! What is the point of collective bargaining? What is the point of collective bargaining if you're not listening to the people you're collectively bargaining for?
Well,
exactly. That's like,
well, once again, that goes back to what we were saying during the strike. It's like Hollywood has its hierarchy, and voiceover people, they're on the fucking bottom rung.
If they're lucky.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let me get the correct quote from Duncan Crabtree Ireland, who told The Verge, and I quote, "I think sometimes it's a mistake to hear a certain number of voices, even if they're raised in a very concerned or agitated tone, as being representative of the entirety of the membership that work this contract or in this area." Which is basically to say, the people who are upset about this, we shouldn't necessarily have to hear from them. Which is
So basically, what they've said is Chris Pratt and a couple of other people who aren't regular voice actors who have done occasional voice acting work said, "Oh yeah, it seems fine to me," and they just decided that's what the voice acting community needed to hear.
Yes,
I have heard from some people who said they looked at it that it's not quite as bad as, or that the deal might not be as bad as the phrase SAG-AFTRA signs agreement with with AI voice work company. Definitely sounds, but I'm still not like thinking this is a good thing.
Well, here's the thing: the actual contract itself could be fine. It could be fine, but the simple fact of the matter is that the people most directly impacted by it were not consulted.
Yeah, not asking primary voice actors about it is an issue.
Right, yeah. And here's the other thing: they have a real fear right now. Let's make this very clear. They have a real feel right now, based upon all of the agreements that have been put forward, both the main one that they ended the strike over, and this one, that eventually, over time, studios and networks and so forth are going to try to force actors to get them to agree to be involved in AI, and if they don't agree, well, then they'll simply find actors who are lesser talented, lower paid to do so, that will accept it.
Because that is unfortunately pretty easy to do.
Well, you remember 15 years ago, voice actors like Troy Baker were the gods of the industry, and then all of a sudden he got suckered in 2018, 2019 by the AI and crypto bros, and he gave over his voice to AI and NFTs and all that bullshit, and now he's just fucked. Who the hell is Troy Baker now?
Yeah,
you know.
Who
the fuck cares about cares about Troy Baker? And I'm not saying
everybody knows it.
I'm not saying that to shit on Troy Baker. I'm making a point that because of what he did and because of the very legitimate fears of voice actors in the industry, he's gone.
Yeah.
What is he doing of major note that anybody is saying, "Oh yeah, that's totally Troy Baker," and not his AI doppelganger?
and the thing is, everybody else in the industry knows how that worked out, and that's the fear that it would happen to them, and that's why they want nothing to do with this AI shit. But unfortunately, their union leadership is out here suggesting AI is inevitable, AI is here, AI is happening. Get on board, God damn it!
Yeah, you know the thing that we literally almost destroyed the movie industry over? Yeah, no, you guys are fucked.
Yeah, it's like
crazy.
Like generative AI is a thing, and it's real, and it's happening. You can't stop it. It's like, why?
Well, I mean,
what is it about it? Like, you don't have to do this.
As I've said before, my crusade is against replacing human labor in its entirety.
Mm-hmm.
Taking incredibly mundane, repetitive, low-paying tasks, stuff that is fobbed off to interns and stuff like that, and automating it with AI, I see less of a problem with. But when it comes to actually replacing the talent outright, whole point of entertainment is to get away from the mechanism, to have some kind of escape, and there's something special about the human creation of entertainment, and if you take that away in its entirety, it's not about being mired in the past. It's not about being the world's greatest buggy whip manufacturer, like they're so fond of saying. It's not about standing in the way of progress. My favorite line in this situation from Star Trek VI is the Federation president's political rhetoric about, let us redefine progress to mean that simply because we can do a thing does not automatically follow that we must do that thing.
Yes.
Because doing that thing caused the destruction of praxis. So we're not necessarily talking about destruction of the planet here, but at the same time we are talking about the destruction of an industry that is the livelihood for tens of thousands of people.
Right.
And it's not insignificant.
This is about the lives and careers of of actual people, and some cases even families here too. So it's like,
eventually if you get rid of all the jobs simply because you can, you will have nobody who is able to pay for the products that you produce.
Right.
With said automation. And that's why a lot of people are going back into the factories and stuff like that, because they realized after years and years and years of relying on robots that they're human constructs.
They can't do the job.
Human constructs, and they're destined to fail. Yeah, and they are destined to fail, and you need that human intuition to spot problems before they actually hit.
I mean, that was the thing about like the AI, say, writing, or it wasn't necessarily that it was going to replace writers. It's that the AI would write the base, and they would have writers come in and clean up the writing.
Yeah, this and this is the thing that I've been talking about with like my art streams on Fridays, on Upload with Mace, is that I use Pix AI to draw inspiration. In other words, I give it a prompt and it comes up with an image, and then I actually draw an original piece, kind of eyeballing some, we'll call them organic data points that I see with my own eyes. I'm talking weird because it's repeating it verbatim back to me from your end, Adam.
Oh.
But I'm eyeballing it and getting some data points for stuff that I can't see in my mind's eye. Like, I'm not repeating the anatomy mistakes of the AI generated images. I'm using it to kind of get over the hump and draw an original piece. So as a tool for inspiration, I think it's great. But as a replacement for human intervention, absolutely not.
I think there's still issues, even
not
because of what's being published, but because
okay, hold on. Galax, I think you actually got started first, so go ahead and finish your thought.
I was just gonna say,
and then Adam talk.
It's better if you're not like just spitting the stuff out, but part of the problem with the AI is still involved in the idea crafting purpose because of the way that data is being scraped and made into corpuses for it to generate from.
Oh, absolutely. I agree with that. But like I said, as an unseen tool of inspiration, it's no different than me going to like Google image search and then finding a pose and then making an original drawing based on that pose. Which has been an accepted practice for decades, is using reference images. So as a source for reference images, and then making something completely original, or at least as original as it can get in today's world, from it as a tool is great. But these people who are literally scrapping images together and then posting them on DeviantArt and saying, "Look what I created," air quotes, that's no bueno.
Yeah, my only concern is that even if you're using it purely behind the scenes, my concern would be that if a lot of people do that, it can still increase the observed demand and then make them still want to keep stealing stuff to base stuff on.
Also, on the whole AI is inevitable train, Well, I was told the same thing about NFTs, and you know what was announced today? Twitter is
Yeah.
removing NFT functionality. I'm like, this shit is not inevitable, especially since there is a big time lawsuit going on right now that may destroy the entire AI edifice.
That's the one over. Oh God, what is the
New
what
York
is the big
Times.
one? No. But what is the big AI generator that they said? Oh yeah, we're not scrapping.
Midjourney.
Midjourney, yeah. They got their list exposed of all of the artists that they were specifically targeting to train their AI.
And that came out from the New York Times lawsuit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's the thing is when it's revealed that no, there are people behind the scenes that are training the art to be able to produce art that looks like it was made by a particular artist, and the way they're doing it is by taking all of that artist's art and feeding it into their algorithm.
Yeah, well, that's what people were doing on
Adobe. They were
Adobe.
using it from people who were already dead too, who couldn't consent one way or the other.
Yeah, they were. Adobe got busted for this well before the information from the New York Times came out. The specific artists were actually hammering them on Twitter over and over and over again for this exact thing, where they were like, "Well, it looks like of these that particular person who is actually selling these images." You could even still see the original artist's signature scrapped into the images.
Mm-hmm. Because wasn't like Adobe's big thing is they actually got busted for putting people's work on their website without consent?
Yep.
Yeah,
it's all
that
part
was
of
a fucking wild time back then.
Well, I mean, technically you did consent, like much like the South Park Human Centipede episode with Apple. Technically, you did consent to that by clicking "I agree" without actually reading the contract. But yeah, but the other people that made the artwork that had nothing to do with it, they definitely did not consent.
Mm-hmm.
It's insane. Like I said, for inspirational purposes, the one I use has their own internal model makers. They have artwork that was made specifically to be scrapped for their purposes. As far as I can tell, I haven't found anything similar externally. Like they're not pulling from Google image search. They actually have a list of all of their models inside the app itself. So. But yeah, this whole industry is probably going to come crashing down because human nature causes people to take the worst possible scenario in any situation. We're already in a capitalistic hellscape, and people are trying to make money, and they're trying to do it as they're trying to make chicken soup from chicken shit is basically what it is. My mom's favorite expression in this regard. They're trying to say, well, I have no talent and no skill. How can I make money off of this? I know. I'll take somebody who has all the talent and all the skill and feed it in there and jigger around some words into the prompt, and that's my original creation. That's not how that works. That's not how any of this works. Yeah, that's not how any of this works. Mm-hmm. But they think it does, and they get very angry and entitled about it when you call them on this.
Well, yeah, AI is really popular among people who think that the important part is having the initial idea and that the work is, secondary to that.
It's actually worse than that, Galax, because there's a number of people, a very loud number of people in that group who feel that they are just entitled to everyone's art for free.
That too.
And I don't. Yeah, that art is for everybody, and it should be free. It should be just hung up in a gallery, and you should just make it and fuck your rent and fuck your landlord too, and fuck your food budget and fuck your electric bill and fuck your cable bill. Because that's not my problem.
Artists who are so tired of people trying to be like, why do you have to pay for commissions? Is just, bro. You know,
I'm not even against the fact that art should be free, but like that should be because the government pays people enough that they don't need to.
Yeah, I mean, if we had universal basic income, we could talk about people doing it purely for the joie de vivre.
Yeah, remember back when technology was supposed to make it so humans could dedicate their lives to learning and art instead of having to work at all of their jobs? Instead, they're trying to use technology to make art so that we can focus more on all of our menial jobs.
Yeah. Get back in the factory. You're hurting the economy.
Yeah. Futurism was a long time ago.
You know, we're not at the point yet with Star Trek. You know, somebody likened. You know, they talk about the conservative point of view on Star Trek, for example, towards Star Trek, and they're like, the Orville actually did a really good job of dismantling this myth. This idea that, you know, if we just have the right technology, then capitalism will sort itself out and we'll have utopia. No, you have to have utopia before you can dismantle capitalism. You have to. The replicator will not solve capitalism. If the replicator came out today,
capitalism doesn't get solved; it persists.
Right, but the thing is, you know, in order the replicator will not bring about a Star Trek-like utopia. The replicator technology, if it came out today, Elon Musk would figure out some way to patent it, and then he would hoard it so that all of him and his 1%er buddies were the only ones who could capitalize on it, and then like. The government would then seize the patent, and it would be all kinds of bedlam. The point of the matter is that it would still only be available to the elites, because producing food for the plebs, for the masses, and all that stuff is not their end game goal. You know, a lot of people will lose a lot of money if all of a sudden food was freely available, and then they had other stuff.
Alternately, they'd monopolize the technology. And sell the stuff they produce to the lower classes for cheap, but not cheap enough.
Yeah, guys.
Right.
We're getting off track here. Like,
well, but I'm just saying that the point of bringing it back to the AI thing. The point of it is that it's all well and good on paper, but until we resolve certain things that, as you say, Adam, persist. Until we resolve certain things. It's never going to live up to its potential.
Right. Anyway, so we'll see what happens with the fallout on this in the weeks ahead.
Yeah.
We should probably wrap things up now, since it's getting
121.
Yeah.
Yeah. We've been running long because we've been having some pretty solid discussions lately. But And I have to compliment you, Adam, specifically for getting some really fantastic guests for the show lately. That's been really working out well. All right. So as for the rest of this week, I will be doing Honkai Star Rail tomorrow on Up Late with Mace, as well as finally getting back to the Femme Friday art streams. Also on Up Late with Mace, and that will start between 9 and 10 p.m. Mountain Time. I'm not sure yet. I want to do 4-hour streams for those programs because I feel like that gets the most mileage, but I'm not sure yet because I'm still having some, without getting too specific, financial difficulties that I need to resolve before I can take this seriously. Also, be looking for me to add a couple of TikTok streams to the schedule, because I need to actually do at least 2 lives every 180 days in order to maintain live status without having to go to the next milestone, which is 2,000, 5,000, and 10,000 followers. A daunting task, to be sure. So that's that. as far as next week, let's bring up the schedule here. Wrong tab. All right. So, episode 9, January 17th, we have Troy Wellington of the Coach Troy YouTube channels. And Adam, would you mind?
Well, yeah, this is an interesting one because he's kind of got 3 channels.
Okay.
He's got one towards personal fitness. Obviously, we're going to be focusing less on that. One channel for board games, and one channel for retro games, like a lot of Atari 2600 stuff. So, yeah. So quite the range here. This one. So quite the range here.
Okay.
This one. So.
All right. Well, that'll be that will definitely be interesting, I think.
All
right. Well, that'll. And that's coming up next week, and then of course on the 24th, it looks like we're going to have our missed guest Crystal McGee of Mystical Comics on the show. So I'm glad I was able to find some kind of resolution so we can keep doing at least this show with some regularity. And I will try to get the download that Petty Fan made over here. It takes a while to upload. It took me 4 hours just to upload the VOD for our Monday session. So I'm working on speeding that whole thing up. But we will definitely have the entirety of the Moonhawk Studios Presents podcast in one place at some point. It's just a matter of working out all the details here. And I've got a few other missed episodes that I need to upload as well that I haven't quite done yet. So be looking for that in the near future as my schedule evens out. But again, big thanks to our guest this week, Lisle Engle, for coming out and talking to us about his vast and storied career, and of course his new game. Be sure to check that out on Steam. It's only $1. Well worth your time and investment, I think. And that'll do it. Till next time, I'm your host, Mac Paladin. Thanks for watching. Stay safe out there, kids.